Hey, I'm Nick Hawks with Gristle King, walking you through how to make the most of one of many opportunities in the Helium ecosystem. Now, when you're looking for opportunities, really what you're looking for is problems to solve, and that's what I went looking for. So I had a soil moisture sensor that I'd ordered on the internet from Maker Fabs. It's the V3 LoRa, and it comes with a case. So here's the sensor. Here is the case in two parts. The two parts go together and they screw together, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to screw together. And I'm making it look really easy here, but there's no screws in them. But getting the actual screws in is a pretty difficult thing. And so while I've gone through in blog posts and other videos how to get the soil moisture sensor onto the Helium network, I wanted to go through a little bit of a problem that I found and how I solved that problem, and really hopefully lay out a path and a structure for you to solve the same thing. So I started off by drawing out what I thought I wanted in a sensor. I knew that I wanted to be shielded from the rain and the water splashing in from the side. I knew that I wanted it to be really easy to use. I knew I wanted it to be in two pieces, so one piece could screw into another. I knew I wanted the sensor to mount securely on the housing. I didn't know exactly how it worked, so I did the best I could, drew out this idea, and then I went to Upwork. And this is the pretty rad part about living in 2023, is that you can access talent from all over the world. Now, I built basically a request for proposal as to what I wanted. So here's what I want. I want the soil moisture sensor. I want this thing to fit in it. Here's the approximate size. Here's what I want it to do. Here's the materials I'm using. I've got a Prusa printer. I'm not very good with it. So always be willing to admit where you're not good with things. If you look like you're expert, then nobody really wants to help you. But if you are very clear about where you're good and where you're not, it can be a lot easier to get where you're going an awful lot faster. Put the job out there, watched a bunch of resumes and responses come in. Picked a guy. We had a really cool Zoom chat, went through it. I was sure that he was the guy after I talked to him. I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want. Someone who is expert and who is willing to work with me. And then we went through the design process. And the thing we ended up with, which is this pretty rad little piece right here. It's a two-part system. It securely attaches to the sensor. It protects it from the rain. It is really nice as far as getting airflow into the sensor where the sensor is supposed to go. The cap attaches really nicely. All of those things came about as a part of, maybe 10 prints on the Prusa, maybe a couple more, and a ton more design ideas getting batted back and forth. We started with the very first purple print, which had a cap that was a little bit too big, and then the airflow to the sensor wasn't enough on the first or second print. And then on the third print, we realized that it was really difficult to get the sensor off because the screw was too tight. It was really difficult to get it out of this hole. We just kept on going through and iterating and figuring out what worked, what didn't, discarding what didn't work, keeping what did work, and going, make the sensor smaller, making it lighter weight, making it faster to print, and then taking out little details as we got towards the end, making sure that it looked the way I wanted it to look, that it had the MS for Medio Scientific, which is the sensor arm of Gristle King, on it, that I had the words printed around the bottom, that there wasn't a seam on there. There's all of these things that went into the development of this particular 3D printed design and this particular kind of submission to the improvement of the Helium network until we get to the end state, which is the sensor that I was just holding up, which is this thing right here. So this is ready to go get planted in the ground. Super good design. I've put a bunch of, put rain on it. I've put it in the ground already. It's been out in almost freezing cold nights out here in San Diego. It's been out in the rain. It's working really well. But I wanted to take the time to share with you what it looks like, not from like, hey, this is where I started and oh, that's where I finished and everything was easy in between, but all of the different pieces of like, hey, here's where I started. Here's where we stumbled and made a mistake. Here's where I didn't do this one thing. Here's the first thing we missed. Here's the second thing we missed. Here's the ninth thing we missed. And then here's how I tested the thing, and just let you know that you, just like me as a regular person, can go through and contribute an improvement to the Helium network and turn that improvement into something either that's just a contribution to making the entire system better, or if you want to, you can sell them, or you can sell your idea, whatever it is. Now, with this particular one, I'm not going to sell it. I'm just going to give it away. So if you want the print files for this thing, they are in a link in this video. You can just have them, print out as many as you want, and consider it a contribution to the Helium network in general. They will come with a Medio scientific thing on them. So if you don't want it, if you want your own branding on there, we can talk about some licensing fee. But that is not the intent. The intent is to contribute something to the Helium network and to show you the whole process from soup to nuts on how it went. So that's it. It's not magic. It's not some long drawn out thing. It's starting with the problem, figuring out what you think the solution might look like, and then being totally willing as you go along to iterate on that solution until you come up with something that you are really happy with. So that's the whole thing. Hope this helps you and inspires you, and I would love to see what your contributions to Helium are as we grow this amazing network. And just remember, right now is all of the low-hanging fruit. These are the easiest times to get really good and to get in front of the pack. As we go forward, if you watch this thing in 2024, 2025, or 2030, you're going to look back and say, my God, like we've made it so far from where that guy did the first video. But we are in a pretty special time right now, which is you can go find someone on Upwork. You can find someone in your town. I've got an engineer working with me that's in San Diego. This is the time to find the people to assemble and build your team and together to do something really great for Helium. So that's all I got today. Have a rad day. And again, I would love to see whatever it is that you've got that contributes to the Helium network. Rock and roll.